And here we go. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files. And we're here with Untamed Land. It's an old Western inspired atmospheric metal project, according to the notes from your label. And it says this is the world's first metal band incorporating the feral sounds of the classic old Western cinematics. And we're here with the project mastermind, Patrick Kern, right? Welcome,
Yes.
Patrick. And
Thank you.
we are also joined by Nik Franco from the Sea of Tranquility, also a longtime rock and roll journalist that works with some other folks. And where are you joining us from tonight, Patrick?
Over near Akron, Ohio.
Okay. And of course, we're here to chat about the sophomore release, Like Creatures Seeking Their Own Forms, out October 8th. So it's already out, guys. If you want to go buy this, it's on Napalm Records, and you should be able to find it in record shops or digitally, of course, to check it out. Welcome to the show, Patrick. And let's talk a little bit about this album and fill everybody in, because a lot of people aren't going to know exactly anything we're talking about today. So it's all fresh.
Yeah, so it is the second album of this project. The first one I just basically made and just uploaded onto Bandcamp. And I guess I got around eventually to where Napalm heard it, thought it was cool. So they brought me on for second one. So I've just been promoting it after I put it together and all that.
Mm-hmm. So this is a one-man band.
Yeah, basically I just do everything. There are some like session parts that I got some people to record some stuff, but yeah, it's basically just a one-man show.
So what gave you the idea to go with this? I mean, you can explain to the viewers a little bit more, of course, about the music in general and what you're coming across with this Western theme, which I found very interesting because I'm a Western movie buff, and I actually, through the pandemic, I've been home a lot and watching Bonanza and watching great old 60s and 70s spaghetti westerns and stuff like that. So that was
basically, like when I first started writing metal and just music in general, I was real into like folk metal at the time. So I was writing stuff, but it didn't seem like it would make sense to just become like some Viking band or something, since I'm just a dude in Ohio in America. So I was like, well, I gotta think of like something that would be kind of appropriate to what's going on. So also at the time I was real into just Leone, Ennio Morricone westerns, and I just really loved the music for that. So I just started slowly incorporating some of the aspects of that music into what I was doing, and just like, yeah, I don't know if anyone else has been doing this, but this is like pretty cool, so I'll just keep doing it.
You know, Patrick, hi, Nick, by the way, how are you? It's interesting because I too came up with a lot of folk metal, love all that type of, mostly, it's mostly Nordic, Celtic. It's interesting to think that our young country here, maybe it's time to start forming our own folk metal, our own history, brief as it is. And the Western frontier is probably one of the most exciting angles where you started to see something like that really take shape. I can't think of another era where, as early as that, where you started to see something like that. So it is an interesting angle to pick. And I think there's only one other remotely close example I could think of is Panopticon, but they don't do it the way you do it. I love the way you're doing it. I listened through the album. These are long and challenging songs. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you synthesized the Americana, I will call it Americana folk Western parts so well with the metal. Because when I listen to your music, I put the Falkenbach box set here on purpose. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
oh
yeah, I'm hearing, it's like, if I had to describe it real quick, I would say like it's like Summoning from Austria and Falkenbach, mixed together with this Americana sound that you really do it. I mean, it's beautifully synthesized. And these are long songs. How old are you?
26.
Yeah, I mean, this is remarkable. Or do you do like tell me about the writing? Tell us about the writing process, how you mix those parts, and are you playing those parts on any type of instrument?
For the playing, it's mostly like keyboard stuff, keyboard patches, sample libraries, basically. I did play the banjo though, like any like guitar-ish type instrument that you could basically kind of flub your way through if you need to. I could do. Um, so that's most of it. The writing process, I pretty much like tab everything out and like write everything notation wise before I even start recording. So it gives me a good overview of what I'm gonna have to do. But it still just takes forever and it's like it is not the easiest thing, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, I guess like the bands you were talking about are definitely big inspirations. I'd also say like Moon Sorrow and like Viking era Bathory would be the other like big ones that you could definitely compare to this project.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that Nick brings up. The folk metal of North America would be great if it could be portrayed by some actual Native Americans. That maybe there are some Native Americans out there that have some metal bands that do that kind of thing that we're not even aware of. But you know what I mean? That's a point I wanted to bring across. But yeah, I watched the videos for the two songs. The first was Clothed in Smoke and then A Nameless Shape, which are the two videos that you have released from this new release. What are the stories behind those songs and a little bit about the filming, possibly, if you'd like to go into that, maybe?
The filming, me and a buddy just went to Allegheny National Forest, which is in New York. It was just like
Wow.
it was like a day trip for us, and we just just like filmed me just walking around basically. So it was pretty pretty chill and pretty relaxing. But I was pretty tired at the end, which is all the walking. Um, yeah, like I guess the overall flow of the album is sort of like a concept, but it's not like super explicit. It's not like you have to be following the story or anything. But it sort of has to deal with like a dude who sort of becomes an outcast and like leaves the western town and like lives in the wilderness for a while. So that's a very like, I don't know, it's sort of like being out there alone in nature sort of vibe to a lot of it.
That's interesting. Do you think you've always felt like drawn to those types of themes, or are you affected by, I mean, look around at the world. A retreat into nature sounds like the perfect thing. Is that something that came into your mind recently, or do you think you've always been drawn to those types of themes?
I would say I've always been kind of not of the modern world in some weird way, but I don't know. I was never like super like an environmentalist, like green person, even though I have some friends who are like that. Um, I guess like I was always really into like mythology and like just like really, really, really old stories and like the way people approach life in like real ancient times. So I guess Untamed Land is sort of like if that was happening while the Old West was happening, sort of like what the stories would be for that, if that
Sure.
makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. I think that was probably something that people dealt with back then, especially if they ran afoul of whatever
Well,
frontier justice there was.
yes. I mean, there was actually a television series. I mean, there was several of that style, but the one in the 70s was Grizzly Adams. And Grizzly Adams was a guy that was accused of a crime and he didn't want to face up to it because he was innocent. And he went off into the woods and had a cabin. And I mean, it was a little bit of a cheesy show, but I loved it. But he had a pet bear he rescued and he lived out in the woods and he had a trapper guy that would bring him supplies every few months. But that's yeah, I'm parlaying Grizzly Adams with this album. And it makes absolutely no sense, but from that point of view. But when I listen to this album, it almost sounds black metalish, even though it's got Western parts. And I simply just love that style. And I think that it just works well together. I was listening to it on my walk through like a little bit of a park thing today. And it was I just loved hearing, like, you hear the very atmospheric, like black almost a black metal style, but then you hear these themes which could be from a Western, movie or theme like that. And I thought it went to go, in my mind, I love it. So I thought it was very good. What are some of your favorite Western themes or movies, since we're talking about that, if you wanted to give us a couple?
Yeah, the big ones are definitely Sergio Leone's movies,
Yeah.
with of course the Morricone soundtracks. Those were
Yeah.
like some of the first movies I really like fell in love with just as movies in general. Um, besides that, I like a lot of the John Ford stuff, and some of the more modern like revisionist westerns like Unforgiven that Clint Eastwood did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Leone movies are like definitely, you get the feel of this sort of like mythic past. It's like almost like it's not historical even. It's like just it's like a really, really ancient story. I think he even has a quote where he's like, Homer was the greatest Western writer,
Mm-hmm.
which is like sort of gives you into his mindset of how he was approaching those movies.
I mean, of course, that music has been used for intros in the metal world. My good friends in the Brazilian death metal band Crisian use the theme from A Death Rides a Horse for their intro at every show. As Crisian are warm up, you just start to hear this epic, music coming out. And of course, the Ramones used Ecstasy of Gold, which Metallica ended up doing too. One band I could say that does use some Western elements in their songs, but not at all the time, but is Ensiferum. Ensiferum has some songs that really have a Western vibe, where they'll go into parts, and one of my favorite bands also. But Nick, what else would you like to talk to Patrick about?
Well, I listened to the album a couple times through. I'm really impressed with all of it, but the Heavenly Coil is the longest song on the album. It is just, this is a massive, massive success. Like this is really, really good stuff. Is that, can you talk a little bit about that song? Because it really has like distinctive parts, and again, I guess I harped on it before, but the way you synthesize, sometimes when people, when bands want to incorporate a type of music that's other than metal into their sound, you can seem gimmicky. With you at such a young age, and this is such a relatively new band for you, it just seems like you have this knack. How did the Heavenly Coil come about, and what is that about? Because I obviously haven't had a chance to read the lyrics or anything.
Yeah, it's weird that that seems to be the song that people are gravitating to, it seems, which is kind of interesting since it's like kind of more segmented than the other songs, because it's like starts off real just like straight up black metal. It's like there's barely even like any like Western folk parts to it, and it's just like real like dissonant sort of style of black metal. Um, yeah, that was kind of interesting song to write, because I really wasn't sure how it was going to progress as it was going through, and then once I figured out to do the whole like breakdown, the like atmospheric like minimalist breakdown, it
Mm.
started to like come together after that. Um, it's cool that you don't think it's gimmicky, since that's always like the danger with something like this. Um, yeah, I don't know, that song, it's sort of like a constant crescendo, like from the beginning to the end of it. I was kind of, I didn't know how that how it turned out like that. I was like, wow, actually kind of works.
Great job. Yeah. I mean, when Steve told me about you guys, I thought it was a band from, I was like, oh, what Scandinavian or Eastern European country are they from? There's 6 people in this band. Like I really, I'm very impressed. And I looked into your other projects, and you seem to have like a creative outlet for power metal, a creative outlet for straight up black metal, and then this hybrid. Um, do you play live, and do you see yourself trying to make Untamed Land into a live project, or do you feel it's just a studio project?
Yeah, for Emerald Rage we play live, mostly just like local shows and maybe some like trips out somewhere on the weekends. Um, for Untamed Land, probably no live shows in like the near future. just because I don't really want to play to a backing track because that just doesn't seem very interesting to me and for anyone else, I think, who would be watching it. So I'd have to get like 9 other people or something to, to like play all these parts, which
Yeah.
I don't know, that's gonna be quite an undertaking. But could be cool, I guess. I don't know.
Well, you have time. You're very young, so you just, it's great. I think I'm hoping that things are normalizing. I think I'm being called by my daughter. Hi, honey. Bye, honey. Um, love you too. It looks like things are hopefully trending in the right direction. I just saw Cradle of Filth last night. It was incredible. So yeah, who knows what the future might hold. And congrats on is only this record is on Napalm, or the other one you produced yourself, you said?
Yeah, only this one is on Napalm. So the other one
Congrats.
you can check out on Bandcamp and other
Yeah.
places.
I checked it out. I'm sorry, I checked it out. It's very interesting. It reminded me more so of Summoning and stuff like that. I think you found more of your own voice on the new one, your own like direction for this band for Untamed Land on the second album, like creatures seeking their own forms. You sought your own form. You found it.
Yeah, I was just like real obsessed with Summoning back when I was writing that first album. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I have a
I'll
giant
make
poster
one album.
flag. Yeah,
Oh.
I have a giant poster flag above us that we can't see, but yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
I
Like
brought
with
out
that
my
sound.
Western boot just for this episode. I got a Western boot from Wild West City in New Jersey, and it's still got the keychain on and authentic Western town. So plug and
What's in
Wild.
it? What's in it, Steve?
Right now only well, let's say it's vodka because it'll sound cooler.
Moonshine.
Moonshine. Out
Nice.
in the West, all I drank was coffee and whiskey, so pretty much, right? But
I don't really have any Western prop or anything, unfortunately.
no Western props in your
I should probably
no
like
cowboy,
look for some. I got the
No,
cowboy
no,
hat
no.
somewhere around here.
No Remingtons and no 45s and
No.
no Matt Dillons or or Ben
No.
Cartwrights.
Patrick, with it being such a time where everybody just came out of being home a lot and things not going on, have you thought about where you want to go music wise after this with Untamed Land, or are we still, did you finish work on this like somewhat recently, or are you already thinking about more material?
Yeah, I actually did start basically writing for the next album. It's definitely gonna be kind of different. Gonna be like a little bit less black metal, more melodic and like epic and like just like rousing, I suppose. I think that's what I'm feeling right now.
Cool. That's cool. Exciting.
And this album that came out, is it available? It's available on CD, correct? And I have that ordered to come into my shop. And I didn't see vinyl offered. Is there a vinyl pressing for this?
No, no vinyl for this. I think we just ran out of time basically
Okay.
because I was like having to finish it. Like
Okay.
it was scheduling problems, I suppose. But yeah,
And
I think it's just CD and online.
excellent. So yeah, it's on Spotify and everything else. If somebody wants to check it out, and the videos are on YouTube, and we'll put all your links in the description of the video. And I'd like to thank you for your time with the Rock Fantasy Files, and wish you all the luck in the world with this album. I find it very unique and interesting. So if you like heavy stuff and you like a lot of atmospheric stuff, I think most people will be interested in it.
Yeah, and my year's best lists were starting to become finalized, and now you've gone and made me. It's complicated now. Thanks.
Oh wow. All right.
It's really impressive. So congrats.
Thank you very much.
All right. Anybody like to add anything, or Patrick, would you like to add anything to the end of the episode before we ride off into the sunset per se?
Not too much. Just thank you guys for listening to it and being interesting in the music and giving me the interview. It was nice chat.
Excellent. Well, if you like what you see on the channel, please take a moment to subscribe and hit like and all that good stuff, like we always say. And take a listen to the music and try to support the bands and everything during these crazy times. It seems like we're coming out a little bit, but it's still a struggle out there. So rock on, and thanks a lot. And ride off into the sunset. We need like a sound of a horse galloping now, but we don't have it. Well, thanks, Patrick, and thanks, Nick, for joining us tonight. And we'll be back on the channel very soon. And we've got some interesting stuff coming up on the channel. So thanks.